What's going on, guys? So today I thought it would be kind of interesting to open up a graphics card, and I know a lot of people haven't done this before. This is actually only like the third or fourth time I've ever opened up a graphics card. So it's going to be a little bit of an experiment for both you and me, and just it's going to be kind of interesting, I think. Plus, a lot of people actually don't know what's inside of a graphics card. So today we are going to actually be opening up a graphics card, and we are going to be just looking at it and explaining what's going on inside of it. So I need to choose which graphics card I want to break apart in case it doesn't go back together. I don't want to do my 1050 Ti because I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to either do a 1050 Ti or an R7250. I think I'm going to go with the R7250. We're going to be opening up an AMD R7250. So this card really isn't that powerful. It's about on par with a GT 1030. So it's really not the greatest card ever, but it'll be a little interesting. So we're going to need our graphics card, isopropyl alcohol, need some screwdrivers, which I have here, thermal paste, some just stuff I bought at Best Buy a couple months ago, and we're also going to, I'm not going to need this, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to use an old NVIDIA Quadro graphics card just in case something goes wrong, just so I can show you guys anyways. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the thermal paste. I'm going to put that back where it is. I'm going to move this, and we're going to open up the graphics card. I really like unboxing graphics cards for some reason. Like, I just like how it is. Like, you open up the box and there's just a piece of hardware inside. I'm with that with a lot of things, so. Okay, cool. We have the graphics card right here, so we're going to leave that out. We're going to leave the box out, or the box. We're going to leave the bag out because it's just a little static-proof box. And we're going to, I'm just going to put this back in here because I like things being organized. I just hit my microphone. Oh, finally. I was struggling with that for a solid minute trying to put the box back in. So we're going to put that there. So here we have our graphics card. I made a video on this graphics card before the R7250, and if you want to see it, it's up here, but it really isn't that good of a video because I didn't really explain what I wanted to explain. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find these 4 either pins or screws, depending on who made your graphics card. You're going to want to find those and you're going to take them off. But the first thing you're going to want to do if you have a backplate is you're just going to want to take the backplate off. Usually it'll just unscrew. And if you have a graphics card shroud, like a blower style, you should just be able to find things on the back, and especially these little 4 pins in it that holds the stuff down. So we're going to go ahead and try to open this. The other thing you're going to want to make sure is you're going to want to make sure you put your screws in like a bowl or something. I'm just going to put them back on the bag for now. So the next thing you're going to want to do is once you've got it loosened up, all the screws are off, you're going to want to take your isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to move this out of the way for the moment. I'm going to take this, and you're going to want to take the GPU block off, revealing the GPU die. And you're going to want to clean this off. Take some isopropyl alcohol. You're going to just want to rub it off. Oh, got alcohol on my hands. You're going to want to rub it off. Now this stuff is usually pretty thick, so you're going to want to be a little rough with it, but you don't want to destroy your GPU block. This stuff does not want to come off. Come on. This is the face I make when I'm focusing. I just stick my tongue out. I don't know why. Okay, I think that's clean. I think that's clean enough. So I'm going to put this over here because that's not what we want to look at. What we want to look at, and I don't know what I want to do with this, and I'm going to put it on the ground. Step number 1 to running a tech YouTube channel, guys, is to put your dirty cloths on the ground. Okay, so now we have an exposed GPU die. So the GPU usually sits in the middle. It usually is green. It'll come in either green or black, and in the middle, you will see a little kind of square or rectangular thing, depending on which one you have. Now, usually the more powerful the GPU is, or the older the GPU is, the die will usually be bigger. Like, I want to say on a GTX 680, the dies are huge. Hold on, let me look this up real quick. Excuse me, it was the GTX 480, and it had a die area of 529 millimeters squared. Now, let's see how big the die size on this thing is. Okay, so the die size on this graphics card is 90 millimeters squared. It's nearly like a 500% reduction in die size. So to give you guys context, if you've ever worked with a CPU or a GPU, the size of the GPU on the GTX 480 is the size of a normal CPU. That's huge. Okay, so let's get back to cleaning this thing off. I got really sidetracked for some reason. So you're going to want to do the same thing that you did with the GPU block, and you're going to want to just wipe it off. Don't want to do it too gently though, because the GPU is surrounded by little resistors and other different types of stuff. You don't really want to destroy those, so I'm going to go ahead and be pretty chill with this. It's starting to shine right up. Shining up, shining up. Just got alcohol on my finger. This is going to take a while, and you guys are lucky because you don't have to sit through taking off thermal paste. I just got it on the PCB. Okay, so here we have an exposed GPU die, and it's actually pretty shiny. I kind of like the look of it, not gonna lie. Okay, I'm gonna throw this one right on top of that one. Okay, so I think I'm gonna take a picture of this and put it up for you guys to enjoy. Okay, so I just grabbed a picture for you guys. I'm gonna put it up on screen now. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at the GPU itself, which is this little thing that sits in the middle. And if you see the little green thing, that's actually not entirely part of the graphics processor. The main graphics processor is the little tiny shiny thing in the middle. Now, the next thing you're going to want to look at is probably these four little blocks, which they look like buildings. Like, if you were to look at this, this kind of looks like a city. And these four little things on the outside, excluding this little black thing here, are the RAM chips. Now, this graphics card has 2 gigabytes of RAM, so that means that each of these modules are 512 megabytes of GDDR5. And then these little things here that look like little tiny water towers, I probably shouldn't really be touching them because they could still have stuff in there. These little water tower looking things are actually capacitors. These little water tower things actually store electricity. Now, on a couple of them, this one here is labeled 16 volts. This is 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, this is 2.5, and these are 2.5. So these are all just capacitors. Now the next thing is there are little things scattered next to them, and those are actually power delivery. Now what these do is they regulate power into the graphics card. Now the next thing you have is the PCIe slot, which is what you plug into your computer. So I'm just going to put the cover back onto that. And then you have your outputs. You have your DisplayPort, your HDMI, and you have your DVI. So overall, this really isn't that much of a feature-packed graphics card. I just thought it would be kind of interesting to take it apart. Oh, and the back also looks kind of cool. You can tell where the GPU die is, and I think it just looks kind of cool. Okay, so the next stage is putting this bad boy back together. So where did I put my thermal paste? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take just a little tiny amount and put it onto your GPU die. So that was not a very clean job, but it is okay. It is fine. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your fan back on, but you're going to want to orientate it so there's the little fan header actually line up. So I'm going to move this onto here so I can push, and then I'm going to put this on. It's going to clip into place, and then you're going to want to line it up where the little holes are. Now that you have it back on, you're going to want to take your screws. So when you're putting them in the first time, you want to just finger tighten them. You don't want to... So when you're putting it in the first time, you want to finger tighten it. You don't want to tighten it down all the way because then you'll get really uneven pressure on the GPU. So what you want to do is you want to just go in a little bit of a star configuration, similar to if you're tuning a drum. Okay, so now that you've got them all in, you want to tighten them down in a star pattern again. So not putting too much pressure on one part of the GPU. Okay, cool, and now the graphics card is reassembled. So now it's reassembled, the graphics card fan header is back on, and now you just have a working graphics card again. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned and pulled out an old NVIDIA Quadro, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about and mention. Here, I'm just going to switch this with the Quadro. Pulling out the Quadro, we got the Quadro. So here we have a Quadro, and as you can see, this GPU die is a lot bigger. It is huge compared to the other one. And it also has a lot more VRAM. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 total VRAM modules. And it also has a 6-pin power connector. Now, this is an old server Quadro. This is a Quadro FX3500, which actually, let me look this up. Okay, these things are selling for like $40. It's a 256 megabyte card, which means that each of these things have, I want to say 64 megabytes or 16. It's either 64 or 32 megabytes per module. This thing still supports Windows 10. So it's a 256-bit card with GDDR3 memory. Okay, so this card has dual DVI slots, and as you can see, these capacitors are actually pretty big. They're definitely a lot bigger. So that's pretty much an overview of what I wanted to do of what exactly is inside of a graphics card. Now, a lot of people actually have a lot of misconceptions about what exactly is inside a graphics card. Some people say, oh, well, it's just the GPU. Some people say, oh, it's just this. Actually, a graphics card is really similar to just being a mini PC. It's actually kind of interesting, and I'm kind of actually fascinated by graphics cards just because it's essentially just a mini PC. So thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to click here for more videos. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest tech news, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.